Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Toon review for this morning's press conference reaction as Eddie Howe has been speaking to the media ahead of the third round tie against Bromley, which of course kicks off at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Now, there is various things that he's gone through, squad rotation, talked about a little bit about Dubravka and other things as well. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at the major talking points first, which is, of course, people want to know about Martin Dubravka. You know, is he staying? Is he going? Is he, you know, what's going on here? So we'll take a look at that. But first of all, if you do enjoy the show this morning, please do hit the thumbs up button. It's very important for the channel. We keep those coming in. And of course, please, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, we're less than 150 away now from the fantastic market of 35,000 subscribers. So please do subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show. And of course, you can support the channel in the usual two ways. First of all, by super chat. That's the $ at the bottom of the live chat. That'll guarantee your comment to be read out on the show. And of course, memberships are available, and that's the join button just underneath myself. And a big thank you, of course, to Mamaroo Records for sponsoring the channel down there based in Whitley Bay. If you can't get in to see them, check them out online. That link is pinned at the top of the description. Now, good morning, everybody, and good morning to Kath. Now, Kath's been messaging me, telling me about the little run-in she had with Troy Deeney. It is actually fantastic. I did get your message yesterday, Kath, but I wasn't feeling too well, so I haven't replied to you yet, but I will reply later on. I think it's brilliant. It's clearly you. I'd recognize that voice anywhere kicking off to somebody, so well done on that, Kath. And well done for standing your ground with Troy Deeney. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Right, now, I do want to talk about Dubravka before we go any further. Now, you know, there's some people in the chat saying it's been pulled. It hasn't. There's nothing been decided yet. You know, various parts of the media are saying the deal's been pulled, and there's other parts of the media saying it's still going ahead, or that Dubravka has not made his decision yet. Let's just hold back and just wait and see. Now, what Eddie Howe said was he's been a very good professional for us. He's come into the team, and compliments to him, because it's difficult for a goalkeeper. When Nick was playing, he wasn't. He had to stay ready and he had to stay focused. I know how much every Newcastle means to him, and you can see that emotionally he's very interested. All those things will be playing a part into his decision-making and our decision-making. Hopefully, there's a successful outcome at the end. Paul Dawson, thank you for gifting a Toon Review membership. That is very, very, very kind indeed. Now, various points on what he said there. You know, that obviously Dubravka himself has to make a decision. And the way it's going, the sooner the better he makes that decision, and everyone can then move on. However, Newcastle United clearly don't want to lose Dubravka, and I think Eddie made that point this morning in the press conference of how important he is. And he was asked various questions about, you know, do we let Dubravka go? Does Dubravka want to stay and be part of something that could be really special this season in winning a trophy, etc.? It's a difficult one for Dubravka to do this. It's very difficult because, yes, you've got the riches of whatever wages he will be on, and he will be on more wages than he gets at Newcastle. But at the same time, Dubravka has a huge opportunity here to be a legend. These players that will win this first coveted trophy that we haven't won for such a long time will be legends, and legends for years. And, you know, it's a huge decision for Dubravka. It really is. And I kind of feel for him, because a few weeks ago, you know, to be going, he probably had it set in his mind he was leaving in January. He wasn't getting any first-team football. Nick Pope was the number one. Things have changed. He's the number one now. And for me, he's ahead of Nick Pope. When Nick Pope's fit again, I don't see how Pope walks straight back into the team, given the performance of Dubravka, his decision-making, his distribution, his save percentage, his clean sheets. They're all sky high right now, and he doesn't deserve to be dropped. So he will be offered a lot of money. And you're right, Clay, he'll be offered a lot of money in Saudi. However, Eddie was talking about a new contract for Dubravka. That was mentioned in one of his sentences. But listen, for me, I'd love Martin Dubravka to stay. I really would. I think he'd be I think he's done enough. He's done enough, in my opinion, to see the season out at least, and see where this season takes Newcastle United as a club, because I do believe that Martin Dubravka is on fire right now. 5 clean sheets in 7. How can you not be? Kath says, thank you, Paul, and thanks to the others. But had you seen him standing there alone, I know most of you would have done the same. Absolutely. And, that little interview that he had with Jeff Shreves and all was on the side of the pitch was mental. Absolutely mental. Jock says, I want Dubes to play in the final. We owe him that. Well, I mean, you could say we owe him that, but he this is one of the considerations that he has to make as a goalkeeper, guys, because you know what? As much as we can say, Dubravka let himself down when he went to Manchester United, etc. I think it says a lot about the man that he's come back and was determined to put things right. And to be fair, since he's been in the side, he's done exactly that. The defense looks so comfortable with Martin Dubravka as the goalkeeper. Because of his great distribution, we're able to move the fullbacks more further up the pitch for Dubravka to find and put us on the attack very, very quickly. And I think you have to sort of see that, watch the game and watch how far Livramento and Hall are able to move further up the pitch, because they know that the distribution from Dubravka is going to be spot on. And that's what we need as a goalkeeper. Baz says, everyone hated when he went to Man United. Look, he made a mistake. And certainly what he put on social media, calling them United and things like that. Look, he was on loan at that team. I think we need to move on from that now, because he's come back. And for me, he's earned his redemption. There is no doubt about that. The guy has helped us put one foot in the door to Wembley again. So I think we have to move on. I genuinely think we have to move on from that. Julie J says, I've been one of Martin's biggest critics. He's redeemed himself after the Man U episode. He's been amazing the last few games, and long may he stay. Never thought I'd be saying that. And I don't think a lot of people did, Julie, to be honest, did there? There was a lot of, certainly when we brought the goalkeepers in that we did in the summer, Ruddy coming in, and then Vlachodimos. Vlachodimos, for me, was going to be Pope's number 2. We all spoke about that in the summer. There was no way back for Martin Dubravka. But look where he is now. There is a way back. There is a way back in football. If you put your head down and you work your ass towards it, there is a way back. And you have to take your hats off to Dubravka, because he's worked his ass off to get back where he is. And for me, deserves to see out the season as number 1. Alexander says it took a lot to come back and take back the hardest position on the pitch. No doubt about it. How can we see or hear Kath giving it to Dini? Well, that's up to Kath. I don't know whether she wants to put. I don't know whether she's put it on her socials. I don't know. But it is really good. She's you don't mess with Kath. Omar says, hi, Paul, my good friend. I think he will stay. The redemption story for some of these guys is unreal. Mark says, I'd keep for the rest of the season. Let him go on a free as a reward, so he will still get a big payday. Yeah, there's a possibility that if he does stay at the club, then he gets a big payday anyway as a free agent. Or he gets a new contract for a year with Newcastle United, and that sees him till 36, 37. And, he makes his money that way. But look, Saudi money will be very difficult to turn down, because I think he's on about 45 a week at Newcastle United. I guarantee you it will probably be double that in Saudi, because he's coming from the Premier League again. So he'll get those kind of wages. David says, big decision for him, potentially rejecting a contract that would set him and his life and his family for life. I mean, to be fair, he's probably already set up for life. Let's be honest, 45k a week. That would be quite a nice, substantial bank account by the time you finish playing anyway. But I do know where you're coming from. It would be a fantastic opportunity for Martin to experience Saudi, experience football in another country again, as he's done so throughout his career. So, I don't think I'd mind either way, but I'd be disappointed to lose him now. Omar says, Dubes is only 35, still a decent age for the next 2 years. Well, we know keepers can play longer. There is no doubt about that. That's fact. Keepers play longer. So, yeah, there's not really... if you look at some goalkeepers' ages, they're certainly nowhere near on the back. Alan says, Kath, please give Paul permission to play the audio of you and Dini on the show. Listen, let's just... I'll put it on Facebook, Paul, but you only hear a few seconds of the 3 or 4 minutes. You can tell he couldn't cope. He was trying to get me away. Yeah, I've seen the video. It's absolutely spot on. But listen, guys, I mean, if you're on the Facebook group, Kath will post it on there. Can you put it in the Toon Review Facebook group, Kath? I think you might have already had, but if you have, if you can post it in the Facebook group on there, and if you're not in the Facebook group for the Toon Review, get yourself on there, look for the Toon Review, and just agree to all the terms, and one of the mods or myself will let you into the group. There's over 4,000 members on there. It's actually a really good group now. So, yeah, hopefully Kath will put it in there. She says she will. Claire says they just turn down the volume when anyone gets the best of them. They're very clever at doing that, aren't they, to be honest? When when people get the best of them and they start panicking as to think, oh God, I don't know what to say. When these people are confronted, they panic. They're not such Billy Big Shoes anymore, are they? Really saying crap about the place we live and where we're from and the football club that we support. They go very, very quiet on that. Very quiet. To the point of, oh my God, I don't know what to say. They're just a bunch of they hide behind the microphone, shall we say, when they're on the radio. They like to hide behind the microphones, and they don't expect any fans to confront them. But like Kath said, she felt she had to, because she has to stick up for Newcastle, the place, and Newcastle as a football club. And that's why I had my, digs at Troy Deeney as well through this this part of media on YouTube, because we shouldn't. People say, "Oh, you shouldn't rise to it" and stuff like that. But why? Why should you not have the right to defend the place you live and the club you support when somebody basically slags it off and calls it worse than shit when they haven't even lived in the area? It's wrong. And for me, everybody has a right to reply to bollocks that Troy Deeney comes out with. C15 Rice says Eddie Howe is the absolute man, tactically improving, and his ability to improve players is unmatched. I don't see an Arteta improving his current crop of players or an Ange with Tottenham. Well, look, Eddie's flying at the minute. Eddie's, he's. I think we said this on the live shows during the week that I think the Brentford game for me was the turnaround. I think if you talk to or listen to any of the players being interviewed, they all said the same thing after that game. Eddie had one-on-ones with all the players in the squad. The players had meetings together without the management and coaches, and everything was put right. And you can see the difference from that Brentford game. We've gone on a very, very special run of results, and it is completely changed. And that is because Eddie and the players decided to do something about it. When are we going to ever move on as a fan base from players that are purple patches but overall are not good enough? I'm sure some of our fans would welcome Shea back if we could. Gary, you have to just say what you see, right? And it's, I know that's off a game show, but you do. You have to say what you see. And Dubravka's 5 out of 7 clean sheets. Our defense is looking very, very solid. You can't take that away from him. You see on the pitch how good his distribution is, etc. So I know what you mean, but about getting carried away. But this guy's done his business. He's done very, very well. Now, Eddie Howe also said the desire is there from all of us to have another cup run. We don't prioritize any competition ahead of any other. We want to try and win the next game, and this one is no different. We will give our opponent the utmost respect and try to win the match. I think, trying to say to win the match is a bit, if we lost this game, and don't get me wrong, Eddie was asked about Cambridge and Sheffield Wednesday and all the, suffering the defeats that we've had to lower league teams in his time. It's very, he gave a little bit of a giggle when he was asked about the Cambridge game. I think it was Keith Downey that brought it up. It was always going to be brought up, to be honest, wasn't it? When, Cambridge did what they did. But we are a very different football club these days. Very different team. Very different mindset, I think, is certainly around in the dressing room. And I know there will be changes. On Sunday, but that's to be expected and fair enough. But I think what Eddie's trying to install is the same mindset in the whole squad than what he's doing in just the starting 11. I think he wants the same sort of game from the whole squad, and that's what he was talking about this morning. The mindset hasn't changed. The way we play will not change. It's just different personnel will be on the pitch. He was talking about Cher and Bruno and saying that they will possibly be involved because they missed the game, obviously, at Arsenal. Cher's missed the last two, obviously, so he'll be chomping at the bit to get back in and get some minutes under his belt. So it will be interesting just to see who he does go with. Now, he was asked about Alexander Isak, and he said he's seeing his physio at the moment, and we've given him a couple of days rest, but we think he's in a good place, and he'll report back tomorrow. We would have probably involved him in some way against Bromley, but with what's happened, he'll probably be given this game to rest and get himself right for our future schedule. So, of course, he did have a little bit of a niggle, Alexander Isak, against Arsenal, which is why he came off when he did. Eddie said he was just feeling it a little bit. I think, was it a groin or a calf muscle? I'm not sure. It's not a serious injury. But then, further on into that question, he was asked that, given the circumstances, would you have rested him anyway? And Eddie said it was a possibility. Now, he did say, there was a chance he'd be involved in some way tomorrow, which probably would have meant being on the bench just in case we needed him. But I think the right decision is being taken here by leaving Alexander Isak out and just giving him the best possible rest period, because I think that's a key for certain players. We look at this game. I'm sure when the draw came out, Eddie looked at it straight away and thought, "Yeah, we've got some very, very tough games before this FA Cup match." It's going to be seen as an opportunity just to sit some players and rest some players and let them recuperate, because we do have, the next schedule of fixtures in the Premier League, you would look at that and think the way we're playing at the minute, we could really make a push now to remain in the top four and pull away from some teams below us. We've got a very, very good run of games coming up and winnable games. And I know you've got to be careful in the Premier League with what you say about winnable games, and that there isn't an easy game in the Premier League. But the way we're playing right now, you look at the fixtures coming up in the Premier League and you think, wow, we can really make a big push here and gain some valuable points in the Premier League. So I think he'll take to Sunday's game as an opportunity to rest quite a few. But I think what needs to be there is probably a little bit of experience as well, which is why I think Trippier may get the game. He may bring Bruno back in for an hour or so, just to keep the experienced heads on the pitch. And of course, it's 2 games next week, as Julie says there. So, of course, very, very tough schedule coming up, but winnable games. However, the game against Wolves on Wednesday, Wolves obviously new management and playing a very different way. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll take a look at them, of course, when we do the match preview. Now, on squad rotation, just what we've been talking about, really. We knew going into the Arsenal game, the lads that had played the majority of the minutes were in good place mentally, but physically they were a little bit tired. We knew we would have to rotate our squad, but we've got very good players that are desperate to play and desperate to show their qualities. It's a good game for them to showcase those qualities, but also we have to get through, so we have to pick a strong enough squad. Now, again, as expected, really, he's not going to risk anything. I think, somebody made a comment this morning on one of our other videos, which I completely agreed with. I think it was the last night's show, that maybe we're looking too much into Bromley as being a huge banana skin. Why, the way we're playing, can we not just sit here as Newcastle United fans and think, yeah, we're going to win that game? Yeah. Let's not think of it as look what happened against Cambridge. Or we are a very different animal now to what we were back then. And I genuinely think we should be looking at this game and we should be confident of winning it. It's Bromley, they're League Two. We have a very good squad of players at the moment who are playing well, and an opportunity for players who are on the periphery of that squad to come in and prove to Eddie that they can also do a job. So, the likes of Asula, who I think will start the game, Harvey Barnes will start the game. He has an opportunity certainly to score some goals. And I just think we're maybe looking too much into a banana skin here instead of saying, look, we've got really good players. Even Wimbledon earlier on in the season, we didn't play well in that game, but we weren't playing well at that particular time. Things weren't right, but things have been put right since then. And I think that's the most important thing that we need to look at for this game against Bromley. Eddie will he has studied Bromley. He'll have had them watched. He'll know where the danger points are for Bromley. But he did mention, making sure that it's not disrupted too much, i.e. size-wise for set pieces and things like that. We have to make sure that we've got strength and height still in the team. Technically we should be levels above where Bromley are. And I'm not just saying that. I'm saying it in a confident manner. Why the hell shouldn't we be confident? The way we're playing now as a team, as a squad, this is League Two opposition, and this is our chance to move on to the next round and move on to it in style. Yes, Bromley will come to Newcastle with a cup final kind of attitude. There's no doubt about that. It is their cup final. It's a massive game for them, and these smaller teams do tend to step up sometimes. But come on. Now, on being back to St James's Park, of course, 3 games away. He said we're brilliant. We're brilliant for us, but they were tiring. It's good to be back at home, and now we have a little run there. In these games, they're never easy, home or away, but I think it's nice not to be traveling again from our perspective. Now, it does hammer you. Traveling away from home so much, it is hard. And especially with the away games that we've had. We've had 2 against North London sides that we've just we've overturned, and we've come away with wins, which is an incredible performance given how we tend to we play in London over the years. It's absolutely fantastic. Mike says, Paul, did you see someone putting up a post that Barnes was getting sold? Not sure, but I think it's clickbait. Yeah, it's clickbait. They won't sell Barnes at the minute. I did state in a news show, I think last week sometime, that there was a possibility. I think it was Luke Edwards wrote actually an article, which I did agree with, because you look at someone like Harvey Barnes, and what the article said was they would only sell him if it was a PSR emergency. If all other avenues failed, they would sell. And Harvey Barnes would generate some money. But I think given where we stand at the moment with the players that we have possibly leaving, you look at what, Miggy for one, Matt Target certainly is maybe on his way. Russell Smith says, I live in Bromley and they do have a good team spirit. They do get a lot of players sent off though and concede quite a few late goals. Yeah, it's League Two, isn't it? It's battle of the bravest down there. We've seen that many times before. But you know what? I mean, Bromley will come. They'll give it a go. That there's no doubt about. So, but they'll come up with an attitude of this is our cup final. Some of these players will have never played at a ground like St James's Park. Nathan, I'm not sure how many fans they're bringing, but I would assume that they've. But didn't I read somewhere that online that they hadn't sold the ticket allocation, and they were being sold on to Newcastle fans? I'm sure I read that earlier in the week. Don't quote me on that. Apparently, the match is on BBC iPlayer, so on the red button as well. So people will still get to watch that. Now, Eddie was asked about the current run of form, which is absolutely superb right now, isn't it? He says, I think psychologically it's been a big step forward over the last 3 games. To do what we've done speaks volumes for the mental capacity we possess. A lot of question marks from me to the group about our consistency levels and our ability to put a winning run together earlier in the season. So that's why it's hugely satisfying to see the group motivated, consistent, and driven. The challenge is always to continue that. Now, what I was mentioning earlier about, question marks, I think all came from the game against Brentford, the defeat down there. He started asking serious questions to the players, obviously having those meetings with the players themselves having meetings with themselves, in the dressing room without the coaching staff, without Eddie, asking questions of themselves and challenging themselves. That's where they needed to be. They needed to start challenging themselves. They came out in interviews and said exactly the same thing, that they needed to be consistent. They knew that things were going around the media about them not being able to perform against lower league teams or lower down in the league teams as well. That got to them. It clearly got to them, because every player that was being interviewed would state that very same thing. We know we haven't been good enough. We know our attitude has been questioned. And to be fair to all the players and to Eddie, they've all done a job in turning that round, which is fantastic. And hats off to them. And long may it continue. It's got to be... And yes, this C15 Rise, yes, this channel was criticising Eddie Howe. And rightly so. Because the manager and the players were making mistakes. And that's what you criticise for, isn't it? But just because I criticised Eddie Howe, I never said I wanted him sacked. Some people did, and that's their prerogative. They have an opinion. Whether you like that or not, C15 Rise, that's the way it is. People have opinions, whether you agree with it or not. But one thing about it is, he has turned it round, and he has learned massively from what's gone on. The players, everybody has learned from what's gone on, and they've done something about it, and you have to praise them for that. I know it's not you hating C15. Don't worry. I know what you're getting at. Absolutely know what you're getting at 100%. But I think, you know what it is? I kind of just think that sometimes, yes, do fans go over the top? Yes. Sometimes do we go over the top as a channel? Of course we do. But it's called passion, and it's called supporting the football club. And that's what we do on here. We are very, very driven and passionate football fans on this channel, as you guys are in the chat, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. And that's what makes this channel what it is. It's honest, it's opinionated, and we may not be always right. Nobody is always right, unless you're Alex. Good morning, Alex. But you know what I mean. In all seriousness, people are there in these jobs they will get criticized. Footballers will get criticized. The management will get criticized. So it's how they respond to that criticism. And I think, the players and the management, they were all aware of the criticism they were getting for the performances, and they turned it around. And that's the good thing to see for me, the fact that they turned the whole thing around, and now look where we are. Now, finally, on Dan Burn, of course, who's been an absolute colossus this season. He's been superb in the centre-back role. He says, Dan has been very, very good this season. He always shows the spirit that we need. He knows what it means to represent the football club. He conducts himself in a brilliant way, both on and off the pitch. He's been the model of consistency, and he has been someone we can rely on. You need players like that. And I'm sure for Dan Burn, that's absolutely fantastic to hear from the manager. Because, look, again, like Eddie Howe, Dan Burn has took a lot of criticism, mainly playing at left back, because we all knew that playing at left back for Dan Burn is not his natural position. But he's come back into centre back, and he's been absolutely superb. Nobody can say that he hasn't. Nobody can argue with that statement. Dan Burn has been nothing short of sensational. Putting his body where it hurts. He's been very, very good with clearances. Passing out from the back, we've been very, very good. And yes, Dan Burn is one cog in a large wheel in the defence. Obviously, since Tonali's come back there, playing as the defensive midfielder, we've looked a lot stronger. Botman in recent couple of games has looked excellent. The two fullbacks have been superb. Dubravka has been excellent. It's all clicked in. And quite honestly, Dan Burn, I think if he was a few years younger and playing like this, he'd be in the England squad. And that's, I don't think you can get any more high praise than that. I think he's been absolutely immense. And the fact is that maybe, I know age shouldn't have anything to do with getting in the England squad, but we all know it does. There is times when someone will get a shout, but I think Dan Burn along with Murphy, really, in theory. Murphy's one of the top right wingers in the country right now with his assists, etc. So you could say, is it the same for Murphy as well? Should he be given a go in the England squad? I don't know. Charlie, good morning to you. Member for 11 months on the channel. Thank you, Charlie, for you and the family support. We love Big Dan Burn as captain. The week conducts himself and supports his team. Yeah, listen, I know I've questioned Bruno's captaincy before, but I think in all seriousness now, Bruno, for me, has turned into a captain. But Dan Burn, there is a leadership team there, and Dan Burn is one of those leaders within that leadership team, and nobody can question that. He's incredible. He really is, and it's a measure of the man because he loves the physicality of the Premier League. He loves the physical battles that he's in all the time. Similar to Botman and Scher, really, all three of them. They love that physicality. They love going into battle for Newcastle United. They will do everything to keep that ball out of the back of the net, as was proved against Tottenham and Arsenal. They will do absolutely anything they can before the keeper has to get involved. So absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And well done to Dan Burn because he deserves that credit. Paul, seriously, mate, when are you going to learn? How can he be seen on a flight to Charlotte when he's in Paris? I mean, come on. I mean, the barbecues, all sorts. Give our man. Kyle says the team will be stronger than most are suspecting against Bromley. While we are in cups, Eddie sees it as something to win. The first team is not in the starting 11, will be on the bench. I said that. I do think we need some quality experience on the bench and a couple of quality experienced players to start. So, there's got to be a mix. There's got to be a good balance. And I think Eddie spoke about that today. Liverpool fans online in meltdown that Salah didn't win Player of the Month. Yep, that's because our very own Alexander Isak has won the Premier League Player of the Month for December. It has upset a lot of Liverpool fans. The saltiness is creeping into Merseyside. They expected Salah to win that. So, yeah, there you go. Salah didn't win it. Our very own Alexander Isak did. So congratulations to Alexander Isak. And he deserves it. His goal scoring record has been absolutely phenomenal. And it can get even better. But there seems, whatever Newcastle United do, if it's win a game of football or it's, something like getting a monthly award, there's always saltiness from other fans about how one of their players should have won it. They just hate it. They just absolutely hate it, guys, and it's laughable. It really is laughable. But there you go. That is the press conference review done and dusted. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Don't forget, we're back again at 7 o'clock. No TTR Friday this week. We are doing a transfer show. We've got to get them in somewhere. There's a lot of players linked to Newcastle United. We want to take a good look at some of these players as well, should any of them sign in the future. So we've got a transfer show at 7. We've got another transfer show tomorrow at 4 o'clock tea time. And then, of course, Sunday, we've got Matchday Live starting at 2:30 for a 3 o'clock kickoff. So loads coming up on the channel. So make sure you do subscribe and you have got that notification bell hit. And don't forget to give the show a like if you have enjoyed it this morning. But thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really do appreciate it and appreciate your company this morning. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again at 7 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, have a wonderful day, folks. Take care.
Come back and check out